How about that?
Hi, Boolo.
So, why are we doing this podcast again?
Well, we're doing it because we've never done podcasts. We thought we'd try it out. And I don't know technically if podcasts have a certain length, but whatever. We're calling this a podcast.
We'll find
So,
out.
yeah, we'll learn as we go. So, this topic is that we want to talk about selecting our architect, Mike Coleman, Smart House, Wexler Coleman.
Yeah.
Why did you
Well,
do that?
well, I'm going to go back a little bit. So, when we were first starting the project, when I was, looking at doing a green home, I started researching, what is a green home and what are the different, state building standards. And we talked with one architect before, but she wasn't really into the green thing at all. So I started just looking online, and I found several architects that were into the kind of the green space, and we interviewed two of them, and then the third one we talked to was Mike Coleman, and Mike came out to the house, and we talked with him, and he seemed really laid back. He, I guess he spent his formative years out in the Southwest, out in New Mexico.
And we love New Mexico.
Yeah, we do. We love it out there. And it was interesting because he wasn't front. He sounds like he's from Chicago, but he's not. But he didn't. Didn't get his formal training in Chicago, which is interesting, and that sort of attracted us. And the other thing, Amy, you really liked was the fact that Mike was from Libertyville. What's that about?
Well, yeah, because my dad grew up in Libertyville. My grandma was there. I don't know. I just have Libertyville connections in my heart, I guess. So I think there were some things our emotional brain really liked, like that for me. But didn't you also go to some event where you met some of these people? Like, how did you? Because you originally got names from a certain event you went to,
Yeah,
right?
well, you'd given me Bill Lyon's name from this solar company, and it's someone from your network, and so I attended it was again at that point it was called Illinois Passive House, and it was down in the city. It was their, I guess it was their summer solstice. I didn't really know what it was, and I was the only homeowner that attended the event.
That's funny.
And at that point, I actually met Lindsay, and I didn't realize who she was. I met Tom Bassett Dilly. I saw Nate Kipnis, but I basically listened to presentations by all these different players. Now, Mike wasn't there at that event actually, but that's where I sort of just started meeting all the different people in the industry. Marcus De La Flor was there. I didn't know who it was, and there was this big tall guy. And Brandon Weiss was there. He was this big tall guy as well. So it's sort of like this small, tight knit group. And I just sort of just listened and just sort of observed to get a sense of what the values were and kind of what direction they were headed. And I was really impressed. So that's what
Yeah.
started it for me.
And what, I guess, at that meeting, when you say you were really impressed, what sorts of things were standing out to you about, okay, we need an architect who's in the green space? I mean, we kind of in our hearts knew this is kind of what we wanted to do, but what sort of ideas got into your head of what we looked for?
What had gotten into my head was some of the stuff that I'd learned in my permaculture class about, capturing and storing energy, capturing and storing water, building efficiently, saving, being energy efficient with things. That's really what got me attracted. And so a lot of the concepts that I was hearing from the different architects were being, um, they were basically embodying some of that stuff that I had learned in my permaculture class. And although the permaculture class was not specifically about architecture, I just got this vibe that these guys really cared about what they were doing, and everyone that was there was sort of in the, either in the energy space, solar or geothermal, or they were builders. A lot of builders that were there, and then architects. And some of the presentations were interesting because one of them was about, solar. One of them was about, the insulation. One of them was actually about he was a realtor, actually talking about
Huh.
how to actually market and sell the benefits of building this way. So he was sort of there as
Interesting.
a consultant to the architects on kind of helping them shape
Hmm.
their messaging to potential customers and clients. So I thought that was interesting. That this was kind of my first industry specific gathering, and I was again there as a private citizen. I was there as a homeowner. Homeowners don't attend these
Yeah,
things,
did
and
they look at you funny? Like, who's this guy? Why are you
yeah,
there?
I mean, I really didn't. I didn't know anyone. Obviously, I just kind of showed up, and they didn't know who I was, and I started introducing myself. I'm a homeowner. I'm looking to do this, and I started asking lots of questions about what do they see as the future, and what does it really mean to build a home this way. And that's what really got me. As a matter of fact, I was introduced to Tom Basadilli that first evening, and we met with him, and he's great. I mean, I actually went to his Park Ridge office, and we had lunch, and saw his studio, and really liked kind of the concepts that he had, and I was really impressed with them. And
He seems like he's really pioneering.
absolutely
He's
pioneering,
definitely
and
very future oriented. So I guess the question then is why did we select Mike Coleman? If I think back to those moments, what was it for us that made us select Mike Coleman? So we
well,
met with a number of people.
yeah, for you, Amy, I think what your big thing, one of the things that really, again, goes back to the Libertyville thing. There was just a vibe there. You just liked the fact that he was from
From
Libertyville,
where my dad grew
and
up.
that's where your Graham lived.
Yeah.
You liked that he was active in his community there in Libertyville as
Well, he
well.
does like historical kind of reconstruction there too,
Yeah,
or
preservation.
it's
Yeah,
preservation. That's the
yeah,
right word. Yeah, yeah. So that for sure. I mean, I think something I remember you and I talking about is sort of the customer service piece, knowing that we're both pretty busy with our work lives. I think
yeah,
the customer service piece was critical for us when we were talking to Mike. And just thinking about overall the kind of setup we'd want. And I think because customer service was so important, something that was really unique for Mike was the fact that he is not only an architect, but a general contractor. Remember when he told us that? Remember, I was very befuddled. Like, why isn't everyone like that? And he made a really good point, which is typically architects are focused on the science and art of the structure, and they're not necessarily doing the project management. And that's more typical. But he also does the general contracting and project management and implementation of the project. And I think for us, wanting somebody who could almost handhold us through this massive thing that's pretty overwhelming to take on, understands the green thing for sure, and how to create an energy efficient structure and all of that. But somebody who's not just going to be upfront with the design, right? But somebody who
yeah.
implements and can see like implications in his plans and can rally a group of subcontractors together, whether it's the plumber, the electric. So like he can do the full thing, like it's one-stop shopping. I think for us that was
That was
key.
that's
That was a
that's what
really
it was. Is Mike obviously had the chops from a sustainability standpoint as far as being able to design a home for us, and a remodeled home that would give us all the things that we wanted out of the home, but at the same time be able to actually move the project forward. And that was something that the other guys that we spoke with didn't offer. And
well, most don't in the industry.
well,
It's a
they don't.
unique thing,
It's a
and that's
unique
and
thing.
that's
Yeah.
remember when I was sitting there at the dining room table, sort of challenging Mike, like why, like that's such a market advantage you have, Mike Coleman, and why don't more people do that? And I think his point was that's not necessarily easy to do. If you're studying architecture,
Yeah.
you're studying more the design and science of a building. General contracting and project management is a really different skill set. And knowing from my own work, it is true. Design and implementation is a different kind of mindset, even. So I think we're really fortunate we have someone who has both, but that's a really unique thing.
Yeah, it really was, and that's why we chose Mike, because again we felt like we needed someone to sort of shepherd the process for us. It wasn't our first time doing remodeling. We had remodeled our kitchen using one outfit and a general contractor that didn't go as well as we'd planned.
Yeah,
Um,
for sure. Not so
and
well.
and then we did another bathroom with a different contractor.
Actually, both bathrooms with that contractor, right? Yeah, both bathrooms.
Actually, no.
Was it? Oh,
I'm sorry.
it
You're
was.
right. No, you're
Yeah.
right. Both bathrooms were the same. It
Yep.
was our kitchen. We remodeled our kitchen in 2003 with one contractor. That did not go well. And then we remodeled both bathrooms in different years with a separate
And
contractor,
that was
and that went
good.
really well.
Yeah.
And so we've done three remodeling
But
projects, so we understood now how the process worked, but we'd never obviously done
A whole
an
house.
entire house.
Well, yeah, and we really wanted that continuity between
Yes.
design. You know, if you had an architect and then a handoff to a builder, just with all the details we were dealing with
Yeah.
and the big vision that we have, and the fact that we just wouldn't necessarily have the time to be on site all the time, it was like we need someone who can provide that
Well,
continuity.
that's the real thing is that Mike designed the house to be energy efficient. So Mike designed the trusses. Mike designed the layout. Mike designed the roof geometry. He designed the geometry of the house so that it could be energy efficient. But then Mike's also the guy that can be on site directly giving direction to the framers. So he's right on site there, pointing right down to a floor joist or a header over a door or doorway or a window, and he obviously has the theoretical knowledge, but they also had the practical knowledge, and that's really what we wanted in a contractor. So
Well,
the,
yeah, he can think about like what's in that design, look at that floor joist and be like, what was in my design? How do I make sure this works? And how do I make sure that people understand who are implementing and all that? Like that's so big. It's kind of a question that I had when we talked to Mike for industry in general, because I'm always thinking about, oh, what can you do to transform to be better? But it's like there should be more people out there who can do both, but it's probably a challenging thing to find. But it's just an interesting industry idea. How do you make sure that the design and implementation are really interlinked so that projects go well? Because I think that's something I've heard from a lot of friends who do big projects is there's an uh-oh when it comes to implementing what was planned. So it's like, how do you make sure, even if the person isn't the same who architects and implements or GCs, how do you make sure there's that continuity? Because that's where like some of the pitfalls will happen.
the other thing that really impresses us about Mike, which impresses us to this day, is that he'll be on site by himself waiting for an inspection. And he will not just be sitting there idly. He's actually pushing a broom.
Yes, that's true. He
He's
does. He gets in the dirt.
he's cleaning out debris and junk. He's cleaning stuff out. He's tidying things up. He's got his assistant over there, cleaning out the crawl space. He's
Yeah,
got
Nicholas.
Nicholas has out there painting the trim for the porch. So Mike is really good because he takes full responsibility for what happens on the job site and full responsibility for what happens in his designs. And that's why we really feel like we made the right decision with him. So
We did. We
yeah,
are very grateful. He's
yeah,
been a key asset. I will say the other thing that he's brought that I don't know if we realized up front, but as soon as we started doing the work or he got bids back and we started talking about who would be working on the job, he has had some really amazing connections. And obviously most general contractors, I'm sure, have really great people working for them, but we've just been really impressed with the quality of tradesmanship and artisanship in this work, whether it's been the plumber, the electrician, the carpenter, the deconstruction crew, like everyone's been really top notch so far. I know we're part way through and there's more people we'll meet, but again, that's been a huge asset too. So I think, yeah, I
So
think that,
the other thing I think is great about Mike is that so we have the project is known as the project of two Mikes. So there's Mike K, which is Mike
that's true.
Hallman, and there's me, Mike Baker, Mike B.
Yes, yes.
And Mike B will often see something that he doesn't understand, and he
Oh,
will text or call or email Mike K and say, Mike, what's going on with this? What's going on with
have
this?
a little freak out moment once in a
Yeah, like,
while.
hey,
Like,
is,
oh,
is this okay? Is this covered? This
yeah,
okay? And Mike's always been really good at being very patient at explaining things to
yes,
Mike B, and sometimes to Amy M.
yes.
And so we really appreciate that about Mike.
We do.
Yeah.
We
So
do. We're
anyway,
pleased. Woohoo! Well,
yeah.
hopefully that gives everyone a little insight to Happy Boolos.
Thanks.